When I tell you, I was astonished to see this year's State of the Union speech. Honestly, at first I wasn't finna watch it. I didn't care what this man had to say. I knew what the union looked like. I'm in it. I'm here in it, looking around, seeing the people struggling, seeing myself struggling. I'm like, I don't need this nigga to come on the stage and tell me how we doing. I know. But I digress. You see, I felt like I seen so many, TikToks because I wanted to see what the people was saying to it. So I did do some, let me see what social media has to say, what the news article was saying, but it felt like I wasn't getting no truth anywhere. Everybody was focusing on chopped up segments and everybody was, I mean, even the news articles that I saw, they were using words like this was the most lively speech ever. Joe Biden really came back. I mean, that was just really one source, and the other sources were a little ruder about their way of describing it. So I was like, okay, what will a neutral party have to say about this? What will one of the people really have to say? And what is, you know our perception of it from start to finish? So I said, suck it up, go and watch that speech. And I took me some notes, and here I am ready to share it with y'all. Okay, y'all gonna get. And I took quotes. Okay, I'm not misquoting nobody. I'm saying verbatim some of the stuff that this man said. Okay, and just not even that, but like surveying the general kind of atmosphere, the Congress and the representatives that we trust. I was like, what is it looking like? All right, so here I am. Welcome. If anybody wants to understand what's going on from a very, I mean, neutral in the sense that I have no stake in this. I don't like either party. I mean, the government in my eyes is just failing in all forms. But I tried my best to go into it with an open mind. I said, you need to come in, not any, preconceived notions, erase what you've seen from your mind. But still, I had certain expectations, of course, based on certain adjectives that were used to describe this message. So let's begin, okay? Let's see what I have observed. Starting off, right? First of all, Kamala came ready with that smile plastered. Low key, I liked Kamala more when she was a bitch. I mean, I'm sorry. But like the whole wheels on the bus go round and round face ass shit is like so toddler-ish to me. I'm like, why are you pretending that you weren't a hardcore prosecutor? Why are you pretending that you're not educated? Why are you like acting like you? And it's so many memes I see all over, just like, oh, she just one thing about Kamala is she finna get her silk press and laugh. What else does a vice president do though? Do we have no other expectations for her as she holds office? And I'm like, I know you're not genuinely like this because you came in on the debates. I remember what she was doing. Stop it. Stop it. But she wanna be harmless. Okay, whatever. Next. It was agitating, and this was the entire time, bruh. But especially at the beginning when everybody was coming in and like, greeting each other and everything, the representative seemed weirdly jovial considering the state of the union. I'm like, everybody was out there kiki-keying, smiling, laughing, taking selfies and shit like their people aren't suffering. Like y'all aren't committing and advocating for a mass genocide. Like, oh my gosh. I was so mad just watching everybody smiling and chilling. Like this was it like shit was sweet. I'm over here barely have enough to pay my rent every month, and they over there laughing and trying to take pictures. Oh, hey Bobby, how's it going? Oh my gosh, can we get to it? So that was the other thing I noticed. Another thing I wrote, what the fuck is Marjorie Taylor Greene still doing here? I mean, isn't she literally insane? And that dress, I'm sorry, that shirt, that bum ass shirt. Are you kidding me? Send that bitch back to the kitchen where she belongs. Can I say that? Yes, I can, and I did. Like, y'all can't even come up with your own slogans. Y'all gotta steal everything. You are so unoriginal. Are you serious? Say her name, bitch. We know where you got that. Stealer, colonizer. Really, you really, emphasizing your roots there, huh? You know what that's like. You know what that's like. Yo, like get some new catchphrase. And no shade to Lakin. What's her name? Lord. Well, I wrote it down somewhere. Lakin Riley. Okay. Yeah, tragedy. I'm sorry. Nobody likes to see someone die. Nobody, but I shouldn't say but. And y'all could have come up with your own phrase to advocate for her. Why do you always have to twist ideas that come from minorities and use it to overspeak them? Use it to, like come up with your own shit. That's all. Why is she still there? Who keeps voting for this bitch? Yes, she's a bitch. I don't care. I don't care. All of them out there are bitches to me. Thank you. Smiling and shaking hands and laughing, like it's all good, it's all great, it's all sweet. No, it's not. And if you really were actively representing the masses like you claim to be, you would feel us in our pain too. You wouldn't be out there just chilling. You would be just as angry and just as riled up as I know I am. I can't speak for everybody, but I was pissed. Even just seeing them happy made me mad. Ugh, okay. And it looked like a whole ass nursing home gathering. I'm like, why everybody here looking like they fossil age? Okay, you said we running out of resources. Nah, we got them in the Congress. Okay, don't worry. Gas and all that will be here for a long time. We can use they bones, old ass. I'm not trying to be rude to the senior citizens, but Mima and Papa need to sit their ass down. Eat some applesauce. Like, go somewhere. You should not be dictating the laws that are going to outlive you. Oh my gosh. And Mitch McConnell looked like he just woke from the dead to attend there. I'm serious. Like, he came fresh out the coffin and said, okay, let me make this meeting. My gosh, he dead ass looks like a pterodactyl. I'm not even playing with y'all. Like, I thought they went extinct, huh? And Ted Cruz still there. I saw that nigga in the background. I said, "What?" No, it's crazy how many representatives I was peeping, most of whom I couldn't even recognize, most of whom. But even the ones I did, they weren't for good things. Anybody that I actively was like, "Oh, I know who that is." 9 out of 10 times it wasn't with a good connotation. It was infamy rather than just being, a well-to-do representative fighting for the people. Okay? I saw Big Man Bernie though. He's still there, still in these streets. Respect, I guess. I don't know. I've heard mixed rhetoric about Bernie, but me personally, just from what I know, all I know is I seen a picture of him marching back before it was cool, okay? Him getting manhandled and arrested by the police, and that's I can respect that. I can respect that. Yeah, he fell in line with the party, but they all did. They all did. At least he tried to be independent. That's just not how it works though. That's literally, they suppress anybody that tries to go outside whatever the Democrats have in mind. On both sides, but honestly, I have more experience with the Democratic Party because for a long time I was an advocate. I thought that the Democratic Party was the better party, but you know what the truth is? Right Twix, left Twix. That's all I'll say. All right. And then I saw AOC's fake bitch ass. I'm like, with that bright lipstick looking like someone straight out of Clown Street, Sesame Street. I don't fucking know, bitch. If you don't sit down. Just the other day, okay, you was crying and scared of the protesters that were coming up to you to confront you about your complacency and the active atrocities that your government party is committing. Okay, y'all are the ones with the most power right now, and look at what's happening. Like, no, I don't want to see you. And her smiling, oh my gosh. I used to really like her. I did. I really did used to like her. But she showed her ass, okay? She really did. And then you got Nancy Pelosi looking decrepit as fuck. I'm like, get her ass to a home ASAP. Why is she still here? Oh my gosh. It's crazy. But one thing I also noticed is that I couldn't tell either side, like which side was which, just by looking. Okay, they looked the same to me. A bunch of old white men and a few splatterings of color. It's literally the illusion of a two-party system. We know the drill now, okay? Y'all not fooling anybody anymore. And y'all could look as angry as you want to even be there, okay? You are backing an indicted criminal. You cannot tell me that one side is on a higher, road than the other. Y'all are both tragic, okay? Can we agree on that? My gosh. Anyways, let me see. What are my final thoughts about the prior to the speech antics that took a good 30, no, it was like 45 minutes that I was watching these people walk around, get their stuff, talking to whatever, and smiling with each other, kikiing with one another. It was actively irritating to me. It really did. And too many of them looked way too old to be out of the house by themselves, okay, without their home health aid, let alone making decisions about our whole country. In 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 um in essence, all I'm saying is both sides are filled with fake ass hoes who only care about cashing their next check. Are you kidding me? Hugging and kissing like it's a family reunion? Bro. And I noticed my girl Katanji Brown Jackson, she didn't even look happy to be there. Why they put her in the back like that? Like, I don't know if they just go by who's there the longest or what, but that didn't seem right to me. She was the only and unambiguous black woman there, and they put her right all the way in the back. You know? Nobody was giving her the right respect after really like pretending like they really wanted her to be there. But you know what, Katanji? I love you. Okay? I do. So now that we've moved past just the beginning, the speech hasn't even started yet. Now let's start with Genocide Joe's big moment. Okay? First of all, this nigga came out looking so out of it. Gosh. Look at her look wide-eyed, and I'm like, is you good? Do you remember where you are, sir? And you gotta stop and talk to everyone if you don't get to the stage. My gosh. Okay, you don't need to give handshakes. You know for a fact he doesn't even remember these people, half their names. He just saying random shit. I'm like, and shaking and smiling. Everybody want to take a picture. Everybody like, what is this the most important thing that our leader has to do? Take pictures and smile with you? Probably. That's what it's looking like. That's what the fuck it's looking like. And you don't gotta clap the whole time, okay? It took him what, 10 minutes, 10 minutes to walk to the stage from the from the entrance to the podium. 10 minutes. Okay? Please. Please, please, please. Y'all did not have to clap that whole time. Relax. And them chanting 4 more years, 4 more years. This nigga hobbled to the stage would be comical if it wasn't so devastating. What are you talking about 4 more years? This man looked like he can't even last 4 more minutes. Oh, Lord. It's crazy. And I noticed that the Democrats were wearing like white. A good amount of them were wearing white. So I was like, what's that about? Did a little Google search. Apparently, it was in support of women's reproductive rights. First of all, don't act like y'all didn't have the chance to codify that this entire time. From what I know, and I'm a fact check this, okay? They had a majority of one or both of the houses for a certain amount of time while they were in office, while Biden has been in office. So I'm like, don't act like y'all couldn't have done something about our reproductive rights and Roe v. Wade being codified into law this entire time. But nah, y'all want to wear that janky ass white, those suits that look, oh my gosh. Okay, nah. And it's so ironic in like a horrific way that women in Palestine are literally like having to give birth with no aid, and they don't have access to any sort of woman medical care. Imagine someone needs an abortion or some sort of serious service. Even just birth control and fertility help. Nah, they don't have access to that, and y'all are perpetrating it. Okay, women in Congo are literally being raped and savaged, but y'all want to wear some white and think you're doing something. If I It really brings me to violence. And I'm not saying I'm going to do anything violent. I'm a peaceful person, but it makes me want to. That's all I'm saying. It brings up that in me. I'm like, these bitches. And then it's like, who knows what the fuck is happening in Afghanistan after you ravaged their country and then left them with the Taliban in charge? I haven't heard what's going on with the woman there, but y'all want to wear that your tidy whities. Anyways, after like 50 something minutes, the speech finally started, okay? His first words were,
Good evening. If I were smart, I'd go home now.
so funny, so funny. Did you really just start with a joke? What's funny about this right now? What's funny about your people literally scrounging for change because we all are being pitifully stomped into the ground at the hands of the billionaires that are lining their pockets with our labor, with the fruits of our labor? Yeah, please do. Go home, Joseph. My gosh. Even Kamala, when he said that, I saw her face. She was like, yikes. Next line that I noted, right?
What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time.
Yeah, by us. By us, I'm sorry. By the 1%. Like, who, I'm sorry, like, America is the one at the forefront of the assaults. Overseas and at home. Okay, you bringing Franklin to Roosevelt or whoever the fuck you referenced up to talk about, yeah, at the first State of the Union, he was addressing the nation at an unprecedented times. Like, it feels like that's all we've experienced, unprecedented times. When does this become the precedent? Because it seems like what the precedent is the rich getting richer and the poor continuing to suffer, and the middle class experiencing the biggest erasure. I know at one point in the speech he mentioned the wealth gap closing. I'm like, it's worse than it's been literally since the French Revolution. Maybe we need to stop chopping heads off. Start chopping heads off, okay? Bring out the guillotine. And again, I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not. All I'm saying is I think it's reasonable to have these kinds of maybe a little more aggressive thoughts because everybody is being put in such desperate situations. My goodness, okay? And then he's talking about that and he wants to name Putin and Russia invading Ukraine.
Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not.
If anyone thinks he'll stop there, he won't. That's what this man said. And it didn't take too long for Trump to come up. Yeah, and he came up multiple times during his whole speech. He didn't even say his name. He was just like my predecessor. My predecessor. He didn't say his name once. I didn't hear Trump, the name Donald Trump once. All he referred to him as was my predecessor. And I was like, I mean, at this point, I didn't know if he was gonna bring up Palestine and the genocide and whatnot. I mean, he never called it a genocide, and when he did bring up Palestine, he named the tragedy in Israel first. So we'll get to that though. We'll get to that later at the end when he finally brings it up for 2 minutes. But no, he was talking about the war in Ukraine and how Putin and his predecessor are apparently buddy buddy. And I'm sorry, I have to say this now. Kamala, sit your high yellow ass down. Okay? You don't have to get up and clap for everything this man says. The point of a standing ovation is to highlight someone doing something or saying something that is specifically, resonating. Something that is like a big moment. You really want to congratulate them and agree with what they said. You standing up every 2 to 5 seconds is not going, it's not the play that you think it is. And her standing up is signal to the rest of their the little bird brains in the crowd to stand up right along, cheering and jeering, okay? Like, please, what is this man saying that is so deserving of applause? It's the same old shit. And I want to note the fact that he said, especially at the beginning,
History is literally watching. History is watching. In a literal sense, history is watching. History is watching. Again, it's not hyperbole to suggest history is watching. We're watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do.
he said that multiple times. And I feel like, it's a little bit of that guilt showing, okay? Because, yes, indeed, history is watching. And we have dubbed thee Genocide Joe. That's what history is going to remember you as. So you keep on talking about history is watching, history is watching as if it's like clearing something off your chest. But really, what it's showing, I feel like you're pinning yourself to the cross there, really, low key, because yeah, history is watching and we're not happy with what we're seeing, frankly. And it's your actions, your choices as the leader of this great nation, greatest economy of the world. Where did they get these facts from? I really need to know because he was pulling some shit out his ass like America's doing better than ever. Uh where where does it said that? Is it adjusted for inflation? Is it adjusted for the new cost of living? Is it adjusted for all these other factors? Or are you just saying like, yeah, money is increasing and so that means people are happier? Huh? Huh? And it's like to talk about history is watching and whatnot, to say like we have to do something when, okay, there's been about 10,000 civilian deaths in Ukraine. That's horrible, horrifying too, honestly. But about 30,000 in Gaza. And let's be real, why did the Ukraine war even start? Because NATO was pushing their alliance all throughout Europe. And you know that Russia was not trying to be surrounded and not trying to be anchored by someone who, is a part of that gang alliance. And yes, it is, because NATO is not, it's the National Atlantic Territories Organization. I don't know if that's correct, but I've heard about what some of the things that NATO has done, and I promise you, it is not the glorified alliance. National Alliance of Transatlantic something, maybe somehow. Anyways, all I'm saying is they not what you think they is. Period. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So I just think it's ludicrous to bring up those deaths and not even acknowledge the 30,000 people, most of which are women and children who are dying, who have died in Gaza, not to even mention the people that are suffering from famine, who have been displaced, who are injured. Like, I'm just talking about the people who have died already. Ridiculous. Atrocious. Another quote.
This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
He was referencing January 6th when he mentioned that. And here's my thing. I've had the ability to talk to Southerners and people who, who support Trump. And honestly, hearing their perspective, they feel like January 6th is a lie. They think it's a hoax. They say that about a lot of things, but it's like you have to understand where these people are coming from. They don't trust the government. All they see is the same thing we saw. They basically let these people in. The police weren't doing nothing to stop them. And then they want to act like it was a huge, like, if they wanted to stop them from coming through those doors, they could have. And they should have. And they would have. They didn't. That's a little weird to me. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but what their perspective is like, y'all use it as a talking point so heavily But like, look what actually happened. Did it seem like anybody was in any real danger? I mean, if they were in danger, why was the police, why were the guards, the people that are supposed to be manning the White House, why didn't they do nothing? I promise you, if that was a group of Negroes coming up them steps, we would have seen a massacre. They would have seen a massacre because, I mean, even when we peacefully protest, we are met by riot gear, army people being called out like they is ready, tear gassed, everything. But then when a bunch of savages want to storm the Capitol, yeah, welcome right in, Terry and Joe. Come in. Welcome. This is the lovely White House. They got a free tour. That's what it looks like. It did not seem that serious. I mean, I wasn't in there, so I'm not even going to speak too much about it. All I'm saying is this is the perspective of other people. They think it was a hoax. And all I'm saying is I can understand having that perspective. We have to stop pretending like people are stupid and dumb. You know, they have different sources of media that they receive information from. And based on those sources, they are drawing their own conclusions. And the person I talked to about this, one person I talked to was my an Uber driver. And he just happened to be talking about politics. I don't mind talking about politics. It doesn't make me uncomfortable, even if I'm talking to someone with different ideas as me. You know, I want to hear other perspectives. And he genuinely seemed like an educated man. He wasn't a racist or none of that. I mean, he said he was like, I don't care who you marry, what your skin color is, like as long as you're not hurting anybody, you fine by me. And it genuinely seemed like he was one of the nicest people I'd encountered. Just a chill ass guy with good manners. Okay, but he is a Trump supporter. And it's why is because we have these fake ass bitches who pretend like they care about us. And again, I think it's important to note that he was formerly a Democrat who transitioned into becoming a Trump supporter. And it's because literally we don't even trust the representatives. We have seen past the Democratic Party's whole pitch. There AOC is the very first, I mean, she was crying, looking at children in cages, okay? Crying as she codified some shit that would cause even more deaths, and you wanted me to feel bad for you because you have to do your job and stand up against them, like, but you didn't. You failed us, made a bunch of false promises, and now you want us to ignore that and just be happy you're sitting there? Anyways, something else that Joe Biden said when he was talking, and I quote,
It doesn't make news in 1,000 cities and towns. The American people are writing the greatest comeback story never told.
just comparing that to like the heinous amounts of people I see talking on TikTok, especially our generation, like the recent college graduates, the entry level workers who are like, I have applied to thousands of jobs and I cannot get one. The entrepreneurs that are now going back to the 9 to 5 because they are not getting business anymore. The only the only comeback story that we sing is come back to the Great Depression. That's what I'm looking at. So it's like, what are you talking about? And he's referencing COVID when he's talking about this. Like, okay, the economy was disrupted through the pandemic. That I mean, is it over? Last I checked, people are still dying. The disabled community has been yelling and screaming that like they are still at risk, but y'all don't care. You know, you want to boil past it like it's a victory. 1 million Americans died, and many more millions died worldwide and continue to die today. But they don't care. Get back to work, get back in the office. Are you mad or are you just delusional? I can't tell. I don't know no more. I really don't. So let's continue. Joe Biden says,
Folks, my inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record, a record. Unemployment at 50-year lows.
I mean, I don't even know how to respond to this. I guess the Lulu really is the Salulu, even to our president. He said, gaslight girl boss. Please, like, where? Who's envious of us? I feel like people are laughing at us right now, laughing at the American people literally tearing their great country down. And it's like we've never really been great though, have we? Like we just put out a lot of propaganda. Yeah. And then people come here like my immigrant ass parents came here and they were like, "What the fuck is this?" This ghetto ass place. Like, thank you. Okay, yeah, there's opportunities and certain things, because they've taken away all the resources from the resource rich areas and made those countries the most impoverished nations on the world and used it to prop up their own economy. But they are still laughing in our face while the rich enjoy all this, all the mess they've done to oppress the people and, and utilize our labor for their gain, their profit, while we struggle for crumbs. Unemployment is allegedly at a 50-year low, according to Joseph. But as I was saying, it's like people are talking about how many jobs they've applied to over this past how long, and everybody seems to be struggling. Ghost jobs and everything, like corporations literally putting out positions that nobody's getting hired for. Everybody's having employment cuts, okay? Like everybody's cutting back and firing people. So what are you talking about? Unemployment's at an all-time low. Where? Where are we getting this? That's what I'm saying. Like, who is fact checking the shit that he's saying in this speech? What gives him the right to come out and blatantly lie to us about what's going on? That's what it felt the entire time. Like, yeah, like I will say it would have been a decent speech. Boring as fuck, but we'll get to that. But it would have been like an uplifting speech if I could trust a word that was coming out of this man's mouth. I'm literally living here. It felt like I was being gaslit. I'm like, this is not what I've been observing, but because Mr. President says so, it must be true, right? Nah, people lie. And politicians do it best. Mhm. Economists say we're experiencing stagflation, which, if you don't know, usually, according to like economics, when inflation goes up, unemployment goes down or is going down, right? And when unemployment goes up, inflation goes down. But what we've been experiencing is stagflation, which is when unemployment is on the rise and so is inflation. And as I talked about previously in like my last little video about my cubicle chronicles, it's quite literally corporate greed that is driving inflation, and that is the same thing that is driving unemployment right now. Okay? They want the workers to get back in line and come back to the office, and they're punishing us so that we don't have no choice but to do what the fuck they say. It's crazy. That's just my theory, okay? I want to back it up as much as I say because I'm not like these useless politicians who will just get over here and start talking without any facts, without citing my sources. I mean, didn't we learn that in school? You have to cite your sources. Where are their sources? Where is this speech online so I can look through it and check for whether or not these things are facts or fiction? I'm like, where are we getting these things? Anyways, this man talking about inflation allegedly dropped, but my grocery bill says otherwise. It really does. And I'm sorry, these hoes clap after every sentence. You don't even know what you clapping about. Okay, you can hear it because sometimes he'll say like two words and someone will start clapping. I'm like, yo, it's a performance. It literally is the biggest performance in front of the people that we see every single year. Okay, so great. Good job. Another quote.
That's you, the American people. It's because of you America's coming back. It's because of you our future is brighter. It's because of you that tonight we can proudly say the state of our union is strong and getting stronger.
Babe, Do you know how divided your own party is? Talking about the state of our union. The Democratic Party itself is experiencing such division. Like, nobody wants to vote for you on one side, and the others are just like, we have to because it's our only choice against Trump. That's literally how they're arguing for you. Talking about 4 more years. Nobody genuinely wants you in office. Your own party, the constituents that your party claims to represent are not even saying like, oh yeah, he's a good president. They're just like, we can't have Trump. We can't have Trump, so we gotta. Anyways, and this man made sure to say, and I quote,
And by the way, I understand corporations. I come from a state that has more corporations invested than every one of your states in the state of the United States combined. And I represented it for 36 years. I'm not anti-corporation.
why not? Why not? It's like you are so intent on being the red-blooded capitalist and not being seen as a socialist because apparently that's a derogatory word now. Let's go back to the Red Scare and McCarthyism. Like, let's just burn these bitches at the stake and throw them in jail, right? That's the next step, really. What is so scary? You don't even know what socialism is. You don't even know what socialism is. It literally just means like the means of production are in the hands of the people, in essence. Okay, if you want a lesson on socialism, we'll talk about that a different day. Like, it's not as scary as some of y'all think it is. And I think again, misinformation is crazy up in here. Y'all will use so many buzzwords, and that's what this speech was filled with. A bunch of buzzwords and fear-mongering tactics and fake, mm, just fake news. That's what it was giving, fake news. I was like, what? I don't even understand what y'all are saying. I don't, because where are y'all getting this information? But you wanna make sure that your corporation buddies still are you know generating income for your election. Making sure they're still donating the big bucks. Okay. He talked about saving money for the taxpayer through challenging big pharma. Cute. That's cute. Listen, I'm the first one that wants to take down Big Pharma if he genuinely is doing that. And I think he cited some actual policies. But the thing with Biden, this whole speech is like he kept on drifting between, he didn't make it clear whether or not this was things he already did or if it was things that he was working on slash going to do. That's what it felt like most of his speech was. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. Bitch, didn't you have 4 years in a majority party in the majority leaning in the House of Representatives and the Senate? So why are you acting like you couldn't have done anything this whole time that we'd be able to literally see with our own eyes? He talks so much, and so many of his points are what we're gonna do. I'm gonna stop it. But have you? What have you done instead of other than kill children and allegedly, allegedly? But is it allegedly? Like, you are literally like funding genocide. That is firsthand killing children. That's what I've seen. Y'all heard that story about like the little girl who was stuck in a car with her dead family members, and then not only did they kill the people that tried to come and get her, they killed her. That was terrifying to me. This is the government that we are sending money to, and that we are, you know, gosh, it's not even if it's not the government, it's the corporations that y'all are not having a hand on. Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Starbucks, allegedly, firsthand putting their money into genocide, into the killing and murdering of innocent people. This is not war anymore. This is slaughter. We used to have some sort of pride in how we conducted, battles with each other. We would fight the army that came, okay, that volunteered to fight them. We wouldn't just bomb a bunch of unable people. Talking about, oh yeah, the Hamas are under the hospital and under he talks about that later. I'm trying to wait to talk about this, but it's so weird that so many, he knows how many people in the party are their first reason for being so upset with him is this genocide that's occurring. And he is not talking about it. He literally waited till the tail end, you know, and gave them their little 2 minutes, barely acknowledging what happened. It's so ridiculous, but I will get into it more when the time comes. And second of all, I didn't even recognize the First Lady Jill Biden, okay? She is so basic, boring, and irrelevant. I saw this lady come in at the beginning and people clapping. I was like, who is she? I was like, maybe she's like a special guest or something. And then he referenced like some one program that she's doing or some mess that she's going to be helping with. And then that and she stood up and they clapped for her. She was like the lovely first lady. I was like, "Oh, that's her." I feel like for most presidents we've had in the past, like the first lady is somewhat memorable. At least even just like Michelle and Melania, even just in recent past. I'm like, we knew who they were. I had no clue what this lady looks like. Anyways, they were talking about the importance of education and they brought up like preschooling and tutoring, which don't get me wrong, that's important. But like, what about higher education? And yeah, he vaguely mentioned like maybe wanting to do something to lower the cost. But again, it's one of those things where why hasn't anything been done? You say you want to one day, but what proof do you have that you actively are advocating for us? Those student loans that you've been talking about, like where is that? Who has actually cashed in on that? How many of y'all? How many of the people that needed it have cashed in on the student loans forgiveness if that shit is still happening? Because I've heard so many mixed things about that program and whether or not states are even allowing it to go through. So what now? What's now? Okay, higher education is not affordable, no, nor is it accessible. And kids can't focus on school when they're scared of being shot. He did also bring that up later, referencing like someone that was there from the Uvalde, Texas shooting. You know, I believe that was the one where the police literally sat outside and did nothing while that was going on. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's actually really insane. It's like, okay, what gun reform? Yeah, he said he made an office for gun reform or some shit. I'm like, okay, an office. Great. That's awesome. What are you going to do? What laws are we gonna? He said, I want to put a law in to ban assault rifles. Why hasn't this been on the docket? I'm like, it's so weird to hear a president. It was giving election speech. It was giving empty promises, because all this stuff you could have done something, even one thing that I could look to and be like, okay, this is something that Joe Biden has given us and has given his people, you know? I can't think of one thing that he has done that is actively changing the way our society works. You know? I know that the way, okay, nobody needs to lecture me on how politics and how checks and balances work. I understand the way that a bill becomes a law is a long and slow process. But what is one thing that you have genuinely advocated for? You've refused to back down for. I can't think of one. Okay, that's all I'm saying. He made sure to say, and I quote,
Such relief is good for the economy because folks are now able to buy a home, start a business, start a family.
are these folks in the room with us? Who? I'm like, I'm seeing more renters than ever before. And a lot of us renters are even terrified now because they keep on pushing our rent up. They are literally are making sure that we have no ownership of anything. We literally are just renting everything. It is scary. It's scary. He made sure to also say, and I'm a capitalist. We know. Okay? We know. But this is what I'm talking about. Like he wants so badly to distinguish himself from like socialism, communism. He wants to be like that corporate loving capitalist, but somehow still for the people. You can't be both. You were either for the corporations or for the people. Maybe once upon a time it was possible to like advocate for the free marketplace and still care about the consumer, but now we have more monopolies than ever before. Okay, where is the trust busting? Okay, what happened to that? So now we're about like more than halfway through, and I literally wrote in my notes, I am bored out of my mind and actively trying to pay attention. These news articles talked about the speech being so lively, and I went into it with like an expectation, like a subtle expectation that I tried to put to the side, that it would be like energizing and it would be like, captivating to watch this man speak. They were all like, look at Joe perform and go against like what these people are saying about him being too old. He has so much energy. I'm like, where? I'm really struggling to even pay attention to him. And I'm like, okay, does a good leader need to be charismatic? Does he need to be, interesting enough? And I'm like, yeah, kinda. Because how are you supposed to lead a group of people you can't even hold our attention? And this is around where I noticed a Republican wearing a never surrender shirt like a fucking groupie with Trump's face plastered on him. I'm like, this is so laughable. Is this what modern day politics is? Dick riding for the most uppity senior citizen and indicted criminal that will help you to, get whatever amount of people to vote for you so that you can continue to take as much cash for you and your family in the meantime. Like they talk about how other country governments are so corrupt, so corrupt. We are the prototype. We are the biggest example of this corruption. So what are you talking about? Gosh. Gosh, gosh, golly, golly, gosh. First and second of all, I keep saying that, but whatever. Mike Johnson. I had to look this man up. The person that was sitting, he is apparently like the leader of the House of Representatives, and the vice president is like the head of the Senate. So this man, Mike Johnson, didn't know your name, didn't really care about you. He's a Republican. That's fine. But keep rolling your eyes, and I'ma snatch them out your motherfucking head. No violence, though, no violence. But that was the urge that rose within me. Like, you are very obviously like aware that the camera is looking at you, and you want to make sure to represent the Republican Party being so disinterested. That's the other thing. Like, y'all are not even courteous anymore. Like, every single year, if one party is like leading, like when Trump was president, the Democrats were sitting still. They didn't clap for not nothing this man said. And now Biden's president, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if what they're saying is valid. It's all about this is my party. So now I have to sit still and not say anything. Unless maybe he makes one random point that I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll look like a bitch if I don't clap to that. But in essence, it's like an act. It was really giving performance on all sides. Kamala always standing up, smiling, putting a little swing in her hips on certain things. I'm like, girl, anyways. Okay. And then around this time, that is when he finally, I think it what's her name? What's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. First of all, she looks like a Jessica. And I mean that in the most derogatory way that I can say that. She looks like a fucking Jessica. Okay? That's how I'm gonna refer to her so for now, okay? Jessica wanna yell in the middle of his speech, say her name.
Not really. I Lincoln Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself.
If I don't sign. Okay, it's one thing to advocate for a death. Why do you need to do that by stomping on the outrage of the black people, Black Lives Matter movement, who have been utilizing this phrase to stop ourselves from being killed by the police? Okay? Why can't you come up with your own shit, ugly ass? Anyways, Joe finally said her name, but he said Lincoln Riley. I don't know if that's how they pronounce it, but it didn't seem right. And he referred, while he was talking about her, he slipped up and referred to the undocumented immigrants as illegals. Come again? Come again? Like, they're not illegals. They are people. It doesn't sit right to me in certain ways you reference. But again, the party and both parties on either side are very particular about the verbiage they use to describe certain groups. And always, I took a linguistics class that taught me a lot about, politics and their use of linguistics. We'll make a video about it one day. I have plenty of presentations I can look back on for reference. But, anyways, Jessica, you are such a nasty, classless, useless bitch, okay? I don't like you, and I will never understand why you're still there. Who is voting for you? Who knows? Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. And please, someone get this man some water. He keeps coughing. You know that cough where how you sometimes have to cough and it's like caught in your throat and you need to like you really need to cough, but you don't, it's not the right time. Like maybe you're in a place where you don't feel like coughing. Back during COVID when it was damn near a crime to cough, I remember those days in class or whatnot. I'd be choking, trying not to cough. He was coughing this entire time. I guess coughing makes you look weak. I'm like, just get it out. He has to wait until people was clapping to be like okay, fine. Whew. Oh, and then this man wants to bring up the climate crisis.
We're also making history by confronting the climate crisis, not denying it. I don't think any of you think there's no longer a climate crisis. At least I hope you don't. I'm taking the most significant action ever on climate in the history of the world.
You're signing one of the largest fracking deals in American history. Oh, like I know you're not talking. That's one of the things I know you did in office, but you want to talk about we got to deal with the climate crisis. Bitch, you're not even trying to deal with it. I'm so like, shut up. Really? Shut up. Like it's and then wants to talk about we need more electric vehicles as if this isn't an industry that it's known to be built on the backs of literal slaves. Okay? Tesla, we see you. Allegedly. We see you. And then AOC goofy ass smile. My gosh, I didn't even like that. I didn't. I don't know what she was clapping about. I think it was the climate crisis. It came right after that. But like, oh my goodness, they zoomed in on her smiling all gleefully as if she wasn't scared of the very people that she's supposed to represent. She used to say things like, "Oh yeah, protesting is supposed to make the people in power feel uncomfortable." You didn't seem very happy to be made uncomfortable. What happened to you, sis? Is this the real you? That's the question. Like, so many of these politicians we elect because they seem so passionate and they seem like they're genuinely going to make a change, and then they get there and they do nothing. Or they give up on doing stuff and they fall in line. And that's what leads me to question like, did you ever care or were you just saying what you needed to get into that position? But also, I know for a fact, having worked in politics, how easily it corrupts you because you need money in order to fund your election, to fund advertisement, to get your name out there. And of course, what does that mean? You're going to have to shake hands with some unscrupulous folks. And then you're going to have to put their needs in front of the needs of the people you claim to represent the best interests of. That's just what happens. Doesn't matter if you had good intentions going into it or not, this is where it ends up. Mhm. So seeing her smile with that ugly shade of red lipstick, I'm like, you need to change that. It does not match your skin tone. Anyways, let me stop being rude. Need to get on these people like that, but I feel like I have the right to disrespect after they have blatantly been laughing and spitting and slapping us in the face. Now I get to be a little ugly. Now I get to be a little rude. So now we're like 99% of the way done, and this man finally brings up the genocide.
I know the last 5 months have been gut-wrenching for so many people, for the Israeli people, for the Palestinian people, and so many here in America. This crisis began on October 7th with a massacre by a terrorist group called Hamas, as you all know. 1,200 innocent people, women and girls, men and boys, slaughtered after enduring sexual violence. The deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust, and 250 hostages taken.
First of all, Israel has been moving into Palestine and you know committing atrocities against its people and the land that these people are living on since 50 years ago. This is going on for 50 years. They've been occupying Palestine this entire time. Hamas retaliated, okay? I'm not condoning uh 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 kidnapping or killing, but this was a obvious retaliation. They didn't just go out and start killing people for no reason. They were doing it because of a political message. That's what terrorist groups usually do. There is a political message behind it. Hamas, their political message is we want Palestine to be free. Is it wrong for me to not think that that's an outrageous um reason to be protesting? I mean, do I agree with the means? Not necessarily. I don't condone violence, sometimes. But listen, I'm just saying, like, don't act like this is just a random act of terror, okay? Unprecedented my ass. 12,000 innocent women and children slaughtered, is what this man said. Like I mentioned, 70%, roughly 20,000 out of the 30,000 people have died in Gaza are women and children. That story that I just talked about, like, you can't tell me that they aren't actively ignoring the facts. Yes, he eventually did bring up the fact that so many people have died, but then he placated it by saying,
Israel has the right to go after Hamas. Hamas ended this conflict by releasing hostages, laying down arms, could end it by releasing the hostages, laying down arms, and surrendering those responsible for October 7th. But Israel has Israel has a added burden because Hamas hides and operates among the civilian population like cowards, under hospitals, daycare centers, and all the like.
I'm like, where are we getting this intelligence from? Because I don't believe it. And even if that is the case, you're telling me there's no other way to get to them but bombing these daycare centers? Literally wiping out generations of students? That is your answer for the fact that you can't do the work, do the extra work, if this is even true, that, these people are hiding under hospitals and whatnot. Nah, let's just kill everybody. And you want to make it seem like this is a burden on Israel. Disgusting. And he states explicitly Israel has the right to go after Hamas. Do you know what that means to me? Do you know what that says to me? Israel has the right to kill all the Palestinian people. Israel has the right to commit genocide. I mean, like, you are just validating, like, he never just said, like, on its own, like, oh, this is a tragedy for Gaza. He had to make sure to follow it up with all of this dick riding on Israel. I mean, I don't know what they got on us, but we seem like we are so tied together. I say we, it's just the governments, because it seems like the people on both sides are kind of like, yo, we don't even know why you're doing this. You're telling us you're doing it for our safety, for our well being. We're telling you to stop. But you don't listen. You don't listen. And the only thing he said about a ceasefire is demanding a 6-week long ordeal rather than a permanent ceasefire, and never referred to it as a genocide. Never, not once. It's crazy to see. It really is. As I didn't expect it, because I felt like, especially because it's such a hot topic, that he would, at the very least, knowing election season's coming up, because that's all they care about, let's be real, he would say something that would make us feel like, okay, he's actively trying. What? So what happens after that 6 weeks? Are they free to continue to exterminate this entire population? Like, and don't get it twisted. If this had happened right, like before election season or in the middle of his term when election season wasn't coming up, I promise you he wouldn't do anything. That is my perspective. I can't say for sure, okay, I shouldn't promise you, but that is what I truly think. The only reason he's saying anything, doing anything, it's a political tactic, it's a strategy. That's all. Then he talks about China. I mean, of course they're gonna bring up China and how we're better than them apparently, but I'm like, okay. I mean, first of all, from what I hear, China isn't that good either, in terms of some of the atrocities they themselves are committing. I know there's been talk, allegedly, of certain camps rising up once again for people that are Muslim. I'm like, yo, what's going on with the Islamophobia? What's happening? Y'all are really going in for what? And then he ended this nonsense electorate speech with a spin on his age, trying to say it's a plus.
I know it may not look like it, but I've been around a while. When you get to be my age, certain things become clearer than ever. I know the American story. Again and again, I've seen the contest between competing forces in the battle for the soul of our nation, between those who want to pull America back to the past and those who want to move America into the future. My lifetime has taught me to embrace freedom and democracy, a future based on core values that have defined America: honesty, decency, dignity, equality, to respect everyone, to give everyone a fair shot, to give hate no safe harbor. Now, other people my age see it differently. The American story of resentment, revenge, and retribution, that's not me.
And that's not a bad tactic to say, like, you've seen America through all its stages, and you have the ability to to know how we can evolve and to see it through all of its stages. But let's not pretend like you weren't a representative who voted to not desegregate the bus systems, if I recall correctly, or desegregate the schools, something like that. I heard about that. Okay, so why are you acting like you were on the right side this entire time and you've only wanted to see America grow and change and evolve? You are a centrist at best, okay? You are not a Democrat. And I mean, are Democrats even Democrats anymore? Who knows? Who knows? And that was the end of Genocide Joe's big moment. Finally finished, and everybody started clapping. He came down. Some black man was just like, you was Baptist up there. You was a Baptist preacher up there. Nigga, shut your stupid Uncle Tom ass up. Like, please. Did Massa pick you yet? Talking about I'm seeing this. It's just my people. Come on now. Come on now. So here are my final thoughts on his whole kind of speech. I gave y'all the specifics, but I urge you to do your own research as well. Watch it if you can stand for it and draw your own conclusions, because you cannot just trust what people be saying on the internet, especially if they don't cite their sources and give you the facts. Okay? You need to remain clued in. Remember the power that is in knowledge, and so much knowledge is accessible for us, to us, through the hands of the interwebs. So use it. All right, don't just take what I'm saying for word and for truth. All right, because my truth might be different from your truth, my perspective might be different from yours. So please, I urge you to watch and share with us your thoughts if you have watched, in the comments. Give this, and I'll say, give this video a like if you liked what Biden had to say and you thought it was a good speech, and you felt like he was factual and based on, he was speaking truth. Give this video a dislike if you felt like this man was just talking out of his ass. If you felt like uninspired by this speech, if you just overall it didn't sit well with you, please dislike this video. That's how we're going to tell what the people really think. Okay, that's a good metric, I think. And feel free to elaborate on your opinions in the comments. Let's not fight with each other. Let's talk to each other, bro, on both sides, on all sides, because this is everybody's president. Even if we don't want it to be, this is currently where we're going. Okay, so we need to come together and speak on how we feel without feeling attacked. Okay, let's just have discussion. Anyways, my final thoughts. It wouldn't be such a shitty speech if I didn't feel so gaslighted. And Joe is it's like he's not a naturally charismatic person. He barely kept my attention. And that is not a good quality for a leader to have. I feel like the only reason he had a chance at winning was because he was riding on Obama's coattails. Really. And the whole thing was giving performance. Okay? It felt like a half-assed election speech. And just pro tip, yelling does not equal inspiring, okay? Yelling does not equal lively. I know you want to convince everybody that you're not this fragile elderly person, but I'm not convinced. Okay? It sounded like Pawpaw trying to get in his last word before he retires. And you should. Talking about 4 more years. Ugh. And the whole atmosphere felt so tone deaf to the true feelings of the American people. You know, I talked about at the beginning, everybody laughing and chilling and going around like it was some happy family when I mean, your people are suffering. Your people are begging for some sort of aid, some sort of help, some sort of protection against these corporations that are literally turning us around and fucking us in the ass. Sorry to be so explicit, but that's what I feel. And it's like, I don't even recognize our leaders. Okay? They're supposed to represent our interests, but both sides seem to only care about themselves and their money. I was looking around at the crowd and I was like, where are the allies? None. You know, maybe one or two. I can't name them though. There were some faces that I was like, okay, you look like a some sort of justice leader or something. But like who really is out here fighting for us? I can't think of one person. Please, and I'm sure there are, but like even those people had to fall in line and do what the party says to do. I'm like, does anybody have any examples of people that are actively advocating for us? Anybody have examples of politicians you feel like we can genuinely trust? Please share them with us. Like, share their message because I'm starting to lose hope in the people that are supposed to be protecting us, serving us. That is the oath they take, to serve. They not serving nothing but the devil. I'm so sorry. And I'm tired of hearing the same bullshit. Just a bunch of empty words, big talk, little action, okay? You throw in what you think that we want to hear, but we are not seeing the results, okay? Mhm. None of it. And the goofy jokes and undertone felt so contrary to the real life experiences that people are going through right now. Like, it's so these politicians are so clearly out of touch from what's actually genuinely going on. It seems like they are in a whole different America to what we're experiencing. Because apparently, the America they're in, everybody's up, everything is getting better. That's not what I'm seeing. I see a country that is actively deteriorating and a people that are tired. There is one thing that Biden said that I did agree with. He said, and I quote,
I say to the American people, when America gets knocked down, we get back up. We keep going. That's America.
he's right about that. In fact, my brothers, sisters, and siblings, let us all rise up. I say it's about damn time we remind the people who think they can lead us astray, who think they can manipulate us with their money and their power and their weak words. Let's show them who the fuck we are. And let's make sure America and her true nature is never forgotten. Once and for all.